a real brief recap. Eric and Ash walked us through very, very good, significant experience enhancements that we made in the flagship applications. Then we had Jamie, Coy, Zorana, and Michael, who showed how we're fundamentally rethinking design, making it easy for creative storytelling with Adobe Spark, taking the wraps off of XD that's really going to transform the whole design to prototyping workflow. And then finally with Adobe Dimension, really bringing a new dimension of reality to the art of two-dimension design for product shots, et cetera. So feel really good about the investments and the innovations that we're bringing to the design category overall. And then Maria and Bryan just showed us the innovation we're bringing to the next wave of photography with the Lightroom CC system. Really fundamentally rethinking how we make a streamlined photography service, multi-surface, come to life for everybody, not just professionals, but for enthusiasts and everybody who really wants to engage in photography. Finally, Jason did what Jason does, and I'm not going to dwell on that any longer. I know that by this time you may feel like you've been hit by a lot, and you have. You're not wrong. We said that this is the biggest MAX ever, and I think we've held true to that. We couldn't be more excited about all the new innovations that we brought today, and the brand new tools, especially the brand new tools that we've actually invested in, and I think you guys are going to love. And even better, all these new apps and all these new updates are part of your Creative Cloud subscription. So go ahead and download those today. I'm thrilled that we've shown you today. I think it demonstrates the heart of what Adobe's commitment is to you. We are deeply committed to developing the next generation experiences that meet your needs and that will continue to grow with you. We are a constant innovation machine in creativity. We're building experiences that are modern, that are adaptable, and that are designed for today's dynamic creativity and design environment. You've also heard us touch on this several times, how artificial intelligence and machine learning and Adobe Sensei are at the heart of Creative Cloud. And touching on Sensei, there's a lot more to come. This is a great time for me to segue to our next presenter, who will expand on our artificial intelligence strategy and give you a glimpse of the future of where we're taking Sensei over the horizon. Please join me now in welcoming Abhay Parasnis, Adobe's Chief Technology Officer, to the stage.
Thank you, Bryan. It's great to be here with all of you. I don't know whose idea it was, but following Jason Levine, clearly I didn't think this one through, so let's see how it goes. Jokes aside, it's been an extraordinary morning. As you can see, we have been focused on continuously improving all the tools and applications that you all rely on every single day. At the same time, we are pushing the limits of innovation like never before. In fact, this MAX is actually one of the best MAX ever in terms of delivering brand new creative applications. New Lightroom, XD, Dimension, Character Animator, Spark. Each of these are not only category-defining applications, they are also shaping the modern creative platform. We are thrilled to be able to put these applications in your hands today, and we can't wait to see what you create with them. Now, before I talk about the future, I do want to talk a little bit about the journey we have been on with you. So from the very beginning, we have been laser-focused on designing industry-leading creative tools that allow all of you to tell amazing stories. Then, with Creative Cloud, we blurred and embraced a multi-cloud, multi-device world by blurring the lines between all our tools with content and services in the cloud. We believe, as we look ahead, the next major step in this journey is creative intelligence, where we can transform the entire creative process by combining advances in AI and machine learning with deep knowledge and understanding of the entire creative community. So on this stage last year, we announced our big bet in AI, Adobe Sensei. Earlier today, Shantanu spoke about how Adobe is empowering a 21st century creative renaissance and how Sensei tackles the challenges of today's complex design environment and letting you focus on tomorrow's possibilities. throughout the keynote this morning, you saw examples of how Sensei is enabling creative professionals to be more productive, giving you more time to focus on what you do best, being creative. Now, as we look at this journey, without question, AI represents the most disruptive paradigm shift of the next decade. From voice assistants to self-driving cars, it's already changing the world. And it's bound to change how all of us work in profound ways. We have a very deep conviction on this, and in fact, we are aggressively embracing this future with Sensei. So, of course, what does this mean for all of you? Some in the industry believe that AI may ultimately replace humans for a lot of activities. At Adobe, we have a very different viewpoint on this. Our fundamental belief is that Sensei will amplify human creativity and intelligence, not replace it. It will free you from doing repetitive, mundane tasks, and because it understands deeply how you work, Sensei can, in fact, help you focus on that very unique creative expression that only humans can do. Now, to achieve this goal, we have built Sensei with two very unique approaches. First, it learns from hundreds of millions of assets that are managed within our creative tools. Second, it is purpose-built with a very deep understanding of the creative and design domains, learning from all of you who use our tools every day. In effect, each of you are actually training the Sensei creative fabric. With our long heritage of creative tools and working closely with the creative community, only Adobe can do this. So, since we started on this journey, we have focused Sensei on three core intelligence domains. First is computational creativity, where Sensei models are being trained on imaging, video, design, illustration, thus allowing designers and artists to push the creative boundaries. With experience intelligence, we are enabling brands and businesses to drive deep personalization and measurement of all the great experiences you are creating. And finally, Sensei is focused on deeply understanding content by using deep learning techniques to search, tag, and extract meaning out of a wide range of creative assets and documents. Now, as we started this journey, we have been rapidly rolling out dozens and dozens of exciting intelligence features. And here at MAX today, we are announcing a very broad range of Sensei-powered features across the entire Creative Cloud portfolio. From intelligent search in Lightroom to face tracking in Character Animator, you can start experiencing Sensei-powered innovations today. So what's next? Now, with this core foundation in place, we are beginning to explore ways to truly transform the entire creative workflow. This is by far one of the most exciting innovation areas within Creative Cloud. We see interaction with a creative assistant using just natural language and voice. Recommendations and creative actions will happen in real time based on how you work, anticipating the next tool and the next asset even before you search for it. And all of this will be powered by a creative graph that deeply understands the language of creativity and design. Now, of course, we don't expect each of you to change all your existing workflows or become AI experts to use these tools. So Sensei will seamlessly integrate in context of your working style. It will be there when you need it and out of the way when you don't. So before we wrap up this morning, we want to give you, just 12,000 of our closest friends, a sneak peek of what we are working on in our labs. To do that, let me invite to stage Adobe Fellow David Nuescheler. David?
Thank you, Bryan. As a fellow at Adobe, I get to work on our future technology, and today I'm really excited to share with you 3 of my personal favorites from our labs. I'm convinced that all 3 of those have great potential to accelerate your creativity using Sensei. So let's jump in and look at the first one. The first one is what I call natural interaction. So let me orient you a little bit what you see on my screen. What you see on my screen is a prototype version of Photoshop, and it looks very similar to what you're used to, but there is one little detail on the top right that you see here, this blue dot. And this blue dot gives me access to the Sensei surface. So as soon as I open that up, we get to see a little bit what's going on behind the scenes, what Sensei is thinking as I'm working away here. It also gives me access to the creative assistant, but I'll talk about this a little bit later. So let's assume I need to create a splash screen for an iPad app. And what I have is a sketch. And I have a sketch of what that should look like. And as I drag and drop this into, keep your eyes a little bit to the top right and see what's happening under the surface. So I'll move it over here, and I'll drop it. And you see that as soon as I drop it, Sensei kind of does the same thing that we humans do. We look at this picture, we sort of analyze, his neurons are firing, we get the concept, we understand that there is a woman on here, there's a spaceship, there is some stars and planets and so forth. And exactly like that, Sensei does the same thing. And this is really important, so let me quickly show you what that looks like. So what Sensei extracted without me doing anything is just understanding that these are some objects that it found here. It read my handwriting. It has women, stars, etc., spaces, spaceship. It knows that this is a galactical theme that I'm going after here. So what's really important now is obviously this is a very natural way to interact with Sensei. But let's try one more thing. What is more natural than actually speaking to this? So let's quickly click on our creative assistant here, and let's see if it can do some work for us. Find some images based on my sketch. And you see, just like that, Sensei went through all my assets that I have here, tagged this slightly different through Adobe Stock, and found a lot of assets that may be useful for my creative journey right from here. If you think about it, a sketch and some words, it doesn't get more natural than this. The second concept that I want to introduce you to is something that we call content intelligence. And content intelligence is where Sensei helps me to run through hundreds of thousands, hundreds of millions of images and helps me find the right one. So we see that on the right-hand side, based on that galactical theme that we had in our sketch, Sensei selected a background from stock that I kind of like. It's kind of contextual, but I'm not 100% sure it's exactly what I'm looking for my creation. So I'll click right here to send the context of Sensei to that asset right here, and let's see what Sensei can do to help me with this. I can click on the full screen mode right here and see all the information that Sensei has aggregated about that image. Now we see that it knows that there's stars on it, there's galaxies on it, it's a space, and obviously I can filter through the hundreds of millions of images that we have in a completely natural way. So I can take the vibrance, for example, down, and we saw that in an earlier demo today, and that's super useful. But at the same time, Sensei understands the concept, so it understands that there are stars, and stars have size and density. And so I can quickly say, I want something that has less stars on it and has the density a little bit down, maybe the size a notch down, and I really land with a background that I like for my creation. So I quickly double-click that, add it to my canvas right here. So this is super simple and shows you how we can deal with millions of curated assets that we have in stock. But what about the images that I have myself? The images that came back from a photo shoot, the tens of thousands of images that all look exactly the same way. So you see that I have an image of a model right here, of the actor right here. I'm going to drag that in. And now keep in mind, and this is something that I've done so many times myself, and I'm going back to the full screen mode in the meantime, keep in mind those tens of thousands of images that come back from the photo shoot. Scrolling through them gets you cross-eyed just looking at them. But if somebody now comes back to you and says, yeah, I like this image, but I want her to look to the right, that's the moment in time where you really lose it and you realize I have to go through these 10,000 photos again to do that. Now, not with the help of Sensei. So I'll quickly see that I have features that I get extracted here. Of course, very different from the one that I had on the Galaxy. So I see a face here. I see that the face has different vectors. It, for example, has a left and a right dimension. Like, am I looking to the left? Am I looking to the right? That's super interesting. So watch this. This is actually amazing. This is one of my favorite pieces of this demo. So I select left and right, and as soon as I click on this, it zooms in on the image, and I can just move the slider to move through everything just with the orientation of left and right on this particular image. So now if my creative director says, well, I like one where she looks a little bit to the right, maybe this one right here. Let me quickly pick this one. And you see it automatically zooms out again and gives me the full picture. And I can just double-click this and add this to my canvas. And now this is not where the content intelligence stops. The content intelligence actually goes a lot further into the asset, and Sensei can distinguish between the foreground and the background. And as you guys all know, masking this hair in the background would be a real piece of work, to say it nicely. So I'll just quickly click on this, and Sensei automatically masks this for me, and I can move this in place. So now I generally like where this is going, but I need a spaceship, I need a robot, I need a planet, and so forth. And the one thing that I told myself, I'm not actually going to show you 12,000 creative geniuses how I use Photoshop, because that would be very demoralizing for myself. So I have something prepared. So this is the splash screen. I kind of like it, and it really takes me to the third phase of my demo, through the third concept that I'd like to share with you. It's a concept that I call design intelligence, and it shows that Sensei can learn from my personal styles, from things that I do, from styles that I develop. And you see that a couple of smart templates that have been automatically created by Sensei are available for me here. I can bring that up. I can select some text for a text treatment right here, and I'll type in the last horizon right here, and I get to see some of the treatments that I've used in the past on similar projects without doing anything. I kind of like that. I'll double-click it and add it right again to the canvas. But design intelligence, of course, goes much further, and this takes me outside of Photoshop into XD. So let's say we have our full app that we created here in XD, and now one of the most tedious jobs that all of you who have done responsive know. Now somebody says, well, but we need this app on the iPhone, right? So let's see what our creative agent can do now with this layout that we have here, and how the creative assistant can help me with this. So let's click on here and let's try to give it some instructions. Create iPhone 8 layouts. And you see automatically there are some layouts that are automatically created, relayouted, reflowed, everything that I had. And as the human, of course, I get to choose which ones I like. And of course, these are not finished. And obviously, we can refine them as we go along. But I can drag and drop them right into here. And as soon as I do that, of course, because they're derived from the original iPad app, Sensei went ahead and wired the entire thing up directly for me, which saves me a lot of work. So I have one last thing. Let's go back to Photoshop. Abhay talked a lot about the creative graph. And the creative graph, think of it as a way of Sensei keeping track of every creative decision that I'm making throughout the process of creating this wonderful asset. Now, we came up with a very simplified visualization for that, and we want to show you what it looks like and how it works. So I can bring up all the graph of my creative decisions that led to this asset right here. Now, what's really interesting is, very often at the end of the creative process, I personally go back and think, well, what would have happened if I would have gone down a different route? So the creative graph doesn't just give you a recording of that, but it also lets you interact with things as we go along. Remember that face decision we made, where we said she should look a little bit more to the right? What would have happened if she looked a little bit more straight up into the camera? And you saw maybe the slider came back here, and I can just revisit that, and Sensei automatically recreate something for me. So let's go a little bit further up. Let's go higher up and say, you remember the initial sketch, right? And it had one particular character on it, and we want to say, what would have happened if we had a different cast member, if we had a different character in this thing? And of course, I could go back in and drag and drop a new sketch and see what would have happened. But as simple as I click here, I can create something with a different character right here, and just click it and see what Sensei comes up with, and directly create the artboard from here so I can go in and manipulate that. So these are just a few of the avenues that we're exploring with Sensei to keep up with the speed of your creativity. Thank you. Innovation that lets you focus on the creative work you love without the technology getting into your way. That's what we're striving for. Thank you so much for inspiring us.
Thanks, David. That's some pretty serious Sensei magic. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So at Adobe, we carefully listen to all of you as we build products and applications that address all of your current needs. At the same time, we have always focused on looking around the corner, inventing and building deep new technologies that advance state-of-the-art for creative expression. This blending of art and science is deeply embedded in our DNA, and in fact is what drives us to every day innovate for you. Sensei and creative intelligence is the next major chapter in this mission for us, and we are making a generational bet on this platform. We are truly excited about the future possibilities, and we hope that you join us on this journey.